Here are 10 of my favorite single barrel whiskeys. What's up, everybody? It's Ty the Bourbon Guy, and welcome back to my channel. People ask a lot about labels. So when you see a label that says small batch and single barrel and all these different things that you may see, uncut, unfiltered, cast strength, full proof, right? Like labels can tell you a lot, and sometimes they can tell you nothing at all. Small batch is like a relative term. It really means nothing, but it's there, right? It kind of, sometimes it can mean something, but I don't know. It's just kind of up in the air. Single barrel, though, however, is single barrel. That just means that it is a single barrel. This came from one barrel. So what that really means is, for instance, you have a batch product, like let's take Wild Turkey 101, where they're taking probably, I would assume, thousands of barrels and blending it to get a certain taste profile. And they want that profile to taste like Wild Turkey 101, to what you know and I know is Wild Turkey 101. But if they were to take one of those barrels out of that 20,000 or whatever mixture or blend that they come out with, then in terms of the whiskey itself, it's the same mash bill typically. It's aged the same amount of time probably, but it can be different because of where it was placed in the warehouse, which warehouse it's in, what floor, all these different things. And so people use the term or say that it's aged quicker. So you can't really age quicker. Age is age, right? So, but what you can do is you can place that barrel at different points in the rickhouse or the warehouse or whatever you want to call it. The heat and the cold and where that gets, so typically like top floor, right? It's going to get hotter, heat rises, that whole deal. So the whiskey itself is going to enter and exit that barrel back and forth a certain amount of times and be a little bit more aggressive with the aging process. So if you ever hear that, that's what that's referring to. So depending on where your single barrel is coming from and where it was placed and the whole thing, it can be a different taste profile. Now, I don't think that's always the case with every single barrel. I think there's some brands that you can pretty much guarantee that it's going to be a very similar profile. And then there's other ones that are like absolutely different bottle to bottle, in my opinion. Let's talk about some of those today. Let's do an honorable mention on this one because this one's actually getting a lot harder to find nowadays. And I know it's not available everywhere and all that stuff. So, but if it is available in your area, you go get it. And John J. Bowman Single Barrel is a great product. A lot of people kind of get into the hype of it because of the fact that it's a Sazerac brand. Sazerac also makes Buffalo Trace. There's a Buffalo Trace connection. People think of Blanton's as a single barrel. They think of John J. Bowman as a single barrel. It must be the same thing. And this is this whole thing, right? Regardless of all of that, it's just a good whiskey. So it's one that I recommend. It's one that if you can find this, still, I would, if your liquor store has it, maybe nobody knows about it in your area yet or something. I don't know, but go get this. This is one that I don't know that it really needs me to hype it up. It's already got enough hype behind it. Everybody already seems to know how good this is. So I don't think there's really much to be said, but because it's not that easily available, and some of these aren't necessarily, but I'm just going to roll with it as an honorable mention for now. All right, number one, Russell's Reserve Single Barrel. Now, Russell's Reserve, in general, the brand is it's a Wild Turkey brand. Let's start there. But it's a brand that just, it captures my attention with every one of their products. So they have a 10-year, they have a few different ryes, they have the 13-year, they've got all these different ones that come out. But this single barrel, to me, is one of the most consistent single barrels on the market. I know that it's going to be good. I've never had a bad one, so I just start there. But then if I get a store pick, a lot of the times it's way better than what's even in the bottle normally. And there have been times where I have a pick of this and the pick has been better than, I've said this before, but I have the 13-year and I have a store pick that I would take over that 13-year. Like if I could get like 3 more of those single barrels or like 3, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know how many it would take, but I would give up that 13-year for more of that particular single barrel. The thing about single barrel products in general, though, is that once that barrel's gone, it's gone. So a lot of the times people ask me, like, what's the most rare bourbon you have or whatever, and they want to hear all the Pappies and they want to hear all the Wellers and whatever else, but that's not the case. I can find those. I may not want to pay the price that I'm going to see, but I can find them. A single barrel, especially if it's a store pick, I I will never be able to find that again. I could find another store pick, I could find another single barrel from that brand, but that specific one I will never find again. So some of these are going to be some of the more rare bottles that I have just because of that. But overall, Russell's Reserve Single Barrel is a fantastic product in my opinion. If you like the 10-year, I would definitely give this a shot if you haven't. If you like any Wild Turkey, I would give this a shot if you haven't, because that profile just to me is so good. I don't know. It's something about it it reminds you that it's Wild Turkey, but at the same point, if you don't like traditional, like the Wild Turkey 101 and things like that, I still would give this at least a taste because it's still a great product. And I think I've never really heard anybody say anything bad about this bottle. I've heard some people not like the 10-year as much, but I've never heard anything bad about this single barrel. Doesn't mean that's not out there, but I just haven't heard it. All right, number 2, Evan Williams Single Barrel. Now, this one was a Kentucky, it wasn't a Kentucky exclusive, then they made it a Kentucky exclusive. And then I put it out there in a video saying it was a Kentucky exclusive, and then you all corrected me in the comments saying that you could find it in your area now, once again. And that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that it's being distributed back again. I haven't seen it in my area still, but so I'm still not really sure, but if you guys are saying that you see it, then it must be back out into distribution. So for that reason, let's put it on the list. Evan Williams Single Barrel is one that I hear a lot of the times as an alternative to Blanton's. Blanton's is one of the most popular whiskey brands in the world, and it is a single barrel. So I think a lot of people are always looking for similarities and alternatives, and I could see it, I guess. I would just say they're two different products. I can understand that if you like one, you're probably gonna like the other, but just because they're single barrels, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. I just like Evan Williams Single Barrel. I think that it was at a $30 price point, so with it re-entering the market, I don't know what that new price point is. I have heard some people say they're having to pay a little bit more than that. So, you know, give or take. But either way, when you think about the Evan Williams white label, they have 1783, they have the black label. The single barrel to me is the highlight of that lineup and that brand, and just a great product overall. All right, number 3, Old Soul. So this might be a sleeper pick, or one that maybe a lot of you haven't heard of or tried. I would say, depending on the pick especially, I would say that this bottle is a sleeper. I think that this is one that, I don't know, maybe people haven't tried Old Soul, or maybe people aren't as familiar. I've tried Old Soul. It was good. But then I had this single barrel, and I'm like, I turned around and went right back to the store and grabbed a couple more because it's just that good. And a lot of the times, who's picking it and what pick it is and all that stuff. But either way, this is a bottle that is very good. I have seen this in a lot of places, and I just see people pass it by. And I think it's just one of those they don't know. People don't really know that this whiskey can be this good. Again, I've had some that are good. This one is excellent. So that's where it just varies barrel to barrel. But if you see this, if you have an opportunity to try it. But if you don't, and you're looking for something new and you don't mind paying for it, I would just buy it. I mean, it's one of those, you know, anytime you get a whiskey where you buy it, and if it's not for you, you can put it on a rock, or you can mix it, or you can make a cocktail, or you can give it away, or do whatever. But it's definitely one I think is worth trying. All right, number 4, Jack Daniel's Single Barrel. So I have told this story before, but Jack Daniel's is a brand that I envision Old Number 7, right? That's what I thought of when I think of Jack Daniel's, Jack and Cokes and things like that. There was a particular brand ambassador that told me one time to try their products. This was years ago now, maybe about 5 or 6 years ago. And I'm just like, man, I'm not a Jack fan. That's not for me. A lot of people love it. It's not for me. And he said, have you ever tried any of our other products outside of Old Number 7? And I said, no, that's just what I think of when I think of Jack. He had me try this one. He had me try the Rise. He had me try the Barrel Proof Single Barrel. It blew me away because I'm like, are you sure this is Jack Daniel's? I mean, like, just from what I was used to. But that goes to show the differences. So when I talked about batching products and when they're aiming for Jack Daniel's Old Number 7 flavor profile, that's one thing. But when you pull that back out and you change the proof a little bit, I don't know if they do anything different with the ages, but then you have a single barrel product. It's amazing. The single barrel proof catches a lot of attention, as it should. It's a fantastic bottle. I put this one on the list instead just because it is going to be a little bit more approachable for some, but still a great product, either one. You can't go wrong with any of their single barrels, any of them. The Rise, the barrel proof, the barrel proof rye, this single barrel, whatever, right? Like let this just be a stand-in for all of their single barrel products, because every single one of them that I've ever had is absolutely amazing. All right, number 5, Knob Creek. Knob Creek single barrel. So I hate when people say, oh, they don't make them like they used to. Well, they literally don't make them like they used to with this bottle. This specific one is I think a 14, almost 15-year-old bottle. It's a single barrel and it's 120 proof. So now you can find single barrels, but they're typically around 9 years. So they're not as old. Or you can find a 15-year-old Knob Creek or even an 18-year-old Knob Creek, but it's 100 proof. It's not 120. So I wish, please, Jim Beam, please bring these back. These are some of the best whiskeys that I have in my collection. But it went from enjoying this one so much to having a 9-year and just feeling like it's too young, or to having the 15-year and feeling like it's too watered down. I want a higher proof. You have a market out there. I will buy all the bottles if I have to, but I just hope my wife didn't hear that part. But I will do all that because this bottle is absolutely amazing. Not only my favorite Knob Creek product, but one of my favorite bottles in my collection altogether. So yes, this bottle is amazing, and I hate telling you this because you're not gonna be able to go get it, right? But either way, Knob Creek single barrel, so many people love the 9-year, and I can understand why, but because I've had this, going back to the 9-year for me, just tastes a little watered down, but so many people enjoy that. I think especially if you are trying to learn which profiles you like, that would be one, just the regular 9-year 120 proof, or even the 100 proof. That would be one that I would kind of hang out with for a little bit and see if you like that profile. And if you do, then maybe explore some of the other Knob Creeks. I think the 12-year is great as well. So there are great Knob Creek products. I just happen to come across the best one. Number 6, Henry McKenna 10-year, bottled and bond, single barrel. I think we knocked all the buzzwords off the list. So this one is an example of the differences barrel to barrel. This one can be one that I've heard a lot of people say, I've either had that barrel and didn't like it or whatever. And I don't really know the reason as to why these vary so much, other than the fact that they're single barrel products. I've had people like try this first and then say like, I don't like it. Like Henry McKenna's not for me. And then they go back and try a different one and love it. So maybe that first one just wasn't the right barrel for them or whatever. So it can be hit or miss. And that's where I think with the price point, I've seen it around 70 bucks. It can be, you know, it's tough. It's a guessing game to figure out if you're going to like it or not. And again, that's kind of the game you play with most single barrels, although a lot of brands can keep it consistent. But this particular one, it's one of those that you either bought it and it's an amazing one, or you bought it and you don't really care for it. I have several of these bottles, and the ones that I've tried so far that are opened and all that, I've never had a problem with a Henry McKenna bottle ever. It was one of the first ones that I ever got into, and definitely an introduction to Heaven Hill for me. I don't know, I enjoy them, but I do know a lot of people see differences barrel to barrel sometimes. All right, number 7, Four Roses. This is a private selection, Four Roses. So the single barrel, there's a standard single barrel that I think is around $40. It's 100 proof. And then there's the barrel strength version, which is typically picked by your store or club or whoever. They have different recipes. This one's an OESQ. So on the neck tag, you can actually look at all these different recipes and it'll give you notes and tell you what it should taste like. And it may or may not taste like that. But that's the kind of the fun in this, where you can find different recipes, you try different things and you see which one you actually like the best. And then as you continue to hunt them, you add those ones to your collection and you see that and you know that's one you want to buy. So that's kind of the fun in it. This one also is aged, I think it's 10 years, 9 months. So great product. And I don't know if that color is picking up on this camera, but it has an amazing color. So I have other single barrels from Four Roses that this lines up next to, and the color difference between this one and every other Four Roses single barrel I have it's amazing, the difference at it. So this is again one that age can be different here. The recipes can be completely different. Aging process, all that stuff, they all play into this. So it's fun to me. Four Roses is a great product in general. And if you can't find the cast strength store picks and things like that, the regular 100 proof is very good and a very good price point. So I think that's also worth it as well. Number 8, New Riff Single Barrel Bourbon. So New Riff is a brand that I absolutely love. I got a chance to tour their distillery before they even put a product out on the market, or a bourbon at least. I think they had a gin that they released early on to fund the rest of it. But either way, it was a fantastic experience. I got a chance to meet an employee down there that guided us around named Grover. Grover was awesome. Shout out to him. We got a chance to do all this. And so when the bourbon came out, I was like, I have to get back there. So I went back, did the tour thing again, and sat up at the bar there and tried some of their different single barrels. The funny thing is they had a few different bottles. I think it was like 2 or 3 different single barrels that were out. And I had one in my hand and they said, have you tried this one? Have you tried that one? So I'm sitting up at the bar and I actually got a chance to try the 2 or 3 different single barrels they had at the distillery. And the one that I had in my hand, I was like, it's okay. But they gave me another sample or whatever, or I bought one and I tried the other one. And I was like, how is this even the same whiskey? Like it was so different. And again, not saying that the first one was bad, but that second one was one of those, like, I don't know, if you've had a few single barrels and you've, especially picks and things like that, you may know what I'm talking about, where you take that initial sip and you're like, this is different. This is not like your traditional whatever, right? Like this is a special bottle and it's one I need as many of these as I can find. So, you know, it was a fun time. It was a great experience. And I appreciate them kind of guiding me to the better of the single barrels. And with their process, it's going to lend itself to be a different product bottle to bottle. So New Riff can vary widely, in my opinion. And again, not even my opinion. I've talked to them before and they've explained to me that because of their process, it's gonna happen. You're gonna have a wide variety of different profiles and flavors that come through on different bottles. So either way, you find one, I would still recommend it. It's a great product overall. All right, number 9, let's go with another sleeper. I think it's a sleeper, not for long though. Still Austin, this is a single barrel cask strength. Still Austin as a brand is starting to come up, and it is one that people are catching on to and seem to really, really enjoy. And I've gotten people, you know, texting me, messaging me different things and just like, hey, have you ever heard of this? Have you ever tried this? To me, that's an awesome thing when I spend so much time making all these videos, recommending things to other people. But when people can recommend things back to me, and if it's something that I've already had, I think that's just awesome. It's really cool to hear because it's like, yeah, I think it's good, but I think a lot of things are good. So when somebody's out at a bar and they try this and then they're like taking a picture and sending it back to me and saying like, man, have you had this? Like that to me is like, okay, so it's not just me that likes this. This is a product that people seem to like overall. I would recommend like any Still Austin single barrels, but the cask strength is one that is one of my favorites, but I don't think you can go wrong with Still Austin in general. Everything I've had from them so far has been absolutely fantastic. And number 10, Bardstown Bourbon Company single barrel. Now, their single barrels can be different. They can even be different mash bills. So I could be wrong here, but I'm not 100% sure. But I thought that there was something that I read where they help other people distill. So if you don't have a whole functioning distillery and you have this idea of a mash bill and whatever else, then you can go to them and they can kind of help you get started, and they'll distill it and they'll even age it and do all these different things and help you along the road. But I thought I read something where they keep some of this back, or I don't know if they maybe buy some from whoever. I don't know. I don't know all the business side of it, but I do know that there are several different mash bills that can come through with these single barrels. So it's different. It's not just necessarily, in some cases, it's not just necessarily their Origin series white label that's just a single barrel. In other cases, there's times where it's a whole different mash bill. This isn't even their, it is their stuff because they make it all, but it's not their traditional or Origin series, white label, whatever, right? This particular one next to me is awesome because this is their very first single barrel ever. This is one that was released at West Clay Wine and Spirits in Indianapolis. Very good. And because it's the first ever, I have had this. I've had plenty of sips of this, but I have this bottle next to me that's unopened, and it's one that I'm waiting to see. So I have a few different ones that are very, very special bottles to me that I wait to see if I want to hold on to these and wait until my sons become of age and then enjoy it with them then, or what. This is one that's so special to me that I do, at least at the moment, I'm not opening it yet just because I want to see if it's one that I want to hold on to. So I hear a lot of people say, open your whiskey. I get all that. There are definitely ones that you'll know when the right time is. And this one's one of those special ones. But I've had others since then that I've opened and enjoyed as well. So if you see the Bardstown Bourbon Company single barrels, I'm a fan of pretty much everything they do, and I definitely enjoy a lot of their products. All right, that's it. That's 10 single barrels that are in my collection that I love, that I enjoy. There are many, many, many other single barrels out there that are great. There are some that are even better than these that I actually do have in my collection, but are almost impossible to find. So I left some of those off as well. But I think in general, single barrels can be fun, especially when you talk about store picks. And when you try one and you have one, if you open that thing up and you get home and you love it, I'm talking about like love it, turn around tomorrow and go back and get more, because once those are gone, they're gone. That's what makes these so rare. Thank you again for all the support to the channel. It has meant so much to me. We are now monetized on YouTube, so shout out to all you guys, which also means that I can do memberships now and things like that. And it's something I'm going to start exploring, something I'm going to see what you guys, so comment, let me know, like, what do you want to see in a membership? It's one thing for me to tell you what I want to put in there and what I want to do and what my thoughts are, but I'm curious what you all liked out of memberships in general, whether it's exclusive videos, whether it's exclusive reviews, or my thoughts. I actually keep a running list of reviews and whiskeys. So as I review something, I have a list of, in order, of the best whiskeys I've ever had to the worst. And so if that's something you're interested in, let me know that, you know, whatever. But I want to make it a fun experience, and I want it to be something that you all are part of as well, because you all are the reason that I'm in that spot. So I appreciate everything you do. I appreciate you watching the channel and all the love so far. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.